Welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, April 13, 2021. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. The explosive event of the La Soufrière volcano continued today. However, the eruptions are smaller with not much energy. So says lead monitoring scientist Dr. Richard Robertson, who told SVG-TV News via telephone interview that from last night to around midday today, there were a series of explosions.
Of the general episodic way. During the morning, as people know, we had an event earlier on, about 11 o'clock. It wasn't that strong in terms of the plume and its energy. There was an ash plume went up in the air, and it looked like it drifted towards the southeast. We didn't see any pyroclastic flows associated with it, and it died out. And then we got into shortly after the long period events that we've been having. So the pattern of activity where you have an explosive event and then a quiet period continues. In fact, this particular one came more or less around the same interval as the previous three had come. So we if it keeps the same pattern, we'd expect in the next probably 13 to 15 hours from this morning that you possibly have another explosive event. And it may or may not be bigger than or smaller than the one that we had.
Dr. Robertson said while the volcano is getting weaker, it is still dangerous, and noted that Vincentians, particularly those from the red zone, should brace themselves for long-term effects.
We would think at present, we're not seeing any signs that it's ending, say, completely. We still get the impression, given our current thinking, that it probably has a lot of material to come out. So we'll look at that carefully. So even if it goes quiet and even if the intervals become longer, people shouldn't think, it's done. And people need to remain vigilant, remain outside of the areas that have been evacuated, and stay safely away in the south. Try more and more putting measures to deal with the ash, which is the only thing you'll be affected with if you stay away from the volcano, away from orange and red zones in the north of the country.
Dr. Robertson said that persons who witness unusual sightings should report them to the Seismic Research Center or the monitoring station at Belmont. Some persons have reported that they found dead fish along the shoreline. This, Dr. Robertson said, is likely.
Around in that area, they would be killed, simply. That's why we as humans stay away from the mountain and stay away from those areas, because it's very hot and it could kill you. So the fact that the fish, if people have found the fish, in fact, what I'll suggest to people, if you have that kind of information, any kind of information that people have, I'll suggest that they send it to the Seismic Research Center, or email it src@sta.uwi.edu. We'd love to collect information, observational information. If you know anybody at Seismic, send it to us. This is part of observing, understanding the volcano. Any bit of information we have would be useful. So if you took a video, or if you took some pictures and you're willing to share them, we'd love to get them. Just contact us and we'd use them.
And 5 days after the La Soufrière volcano explosively erupted on Friday, 9th of April, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is reporting that a number of persons are still in the red zones and are refusing to leave. The SVG Coast Guard has one of its vessels made several visits to the area using loudspeakers appealing to these persons to get out. However, as we hear in this report by Larissa Pugs the Kid, while some have heeded the advice, others have not.
On Tuesday, April 13, 2021, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, evacuated 11 persons from Oyo, which is in the red zone of the volcano. Director of NEMO, Michelle Forbes, who made a trip with the Coast Guard vessel, said, while some persons heeded the advice to get out, others still remained.
Yeah. So we basically pray that, we don't have that many persons, or no, but one at all in those communities, because it's extremely dangerous. It's even extremely dangerous for the first responders, the Coast Guard officers, to really keep having to go back into these communities, because to land at Oyo is not an easy feat, or easy task, because of the type of currents we have along the eastern coast.
Several eruptions have been recorded since Tuesday morning, resulting in pyroclastic flows and volcanic ash, increasing the danger in the red and orange zones. According to the NEMO director, fortunately to date, there has been no casualty and pleaded with those in the red zone to get out.
Yesterday we had actually had a call about 4 persons unaccounted for, actually from OWIA, and so, once we get those calls, we'll check around to the shelters to ascertain whether or verify whether we have anybody by that name. I want to ask you to please get out of those communities if you can. We are continuing to have pyroclastic flows. These are dangerous, hot ash gases, rocks coming down.
Forbes pointed out that in their search and rescue effort, it was noticed that Fancy, which is on the eastern flanks of La Soufrière Mountain, has not been severely damaged as neighboring communities.
France is the only community that appeared that it didn't have that much impact on the eastern coast, but we don't know what is going to happen over the course of the next few hours, days, or weeks. So the communities on the red zone above the Evacuees River, they have been placed in the red zone for a reason.
Since the first eruption on Friday, April 9th, NEMO has been operating 24/7. Forbes said they are being bombarded with calls and have since added another hotline number.
Additional lines. We have done that already, having the additional hotline, but we're adding more lines so we can actually be able to speak to people. People are calling about donations. What do they do? And they're getting a bit frustrated, and they need to hear someone else on the other end to know what to do.
Meanwhile, registration continues for people who are in shelters. To date, there are close to 4,000 people in 87 activated shelters, which are managed by the Ministry of Education. Another 2,500 persons are in private shelters.
21 shelters, we about maybe that have really is at full capacity. We are not overcrowded in any, but when we find that we have more persons, we simply just move them from one shelter to the next.
For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Salves also reiterated his appeal this morning on NBC Radio to persons who are still in the red zone to leave immediately before any serious injuries or death can occur.
And we are getting those who, either persons who had left elderly ones or persons for one reason or the other don't want to come out, but the window is narrowing sharply. And given the pyroclastic flows, for heaven's sake, leave. If you are over in Fancy, or in Point, or in Owia, or in Sandy Bay, or wherever you are, you get to Owia, and somehow if we get to know, and given the cycles, the pattern which for these eruptions and the prospects of the pyroclastic flows, we have narrow windows. Please, I am asking you, do not risk anymore your life and your limb. We have done well in having no deaths, no injuries. We love you very much. We want to help to take care of you.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gonzalez said thus far no major security problem has been reported. However, the security forces are prepared to handle any such problem. He also noted that SVG will be receiving support from a number of security forces in the region.
So that I don't want the dengue problem we have, the volcano problem we have, that I have on top of it is security problem. So I have to head that off. And that is why I'm getting early in the day, and if need be, I will get reinforcements. I'm determined that such persons do not have space to function. We have 50 security personnel from Trinidad on the ground. And we are getting coming in, but maybe today, tomorrow. We are having 40 from Barbados under the RSS, 30 from the Barbados Defense Force, and 10 others, and 10 from Grenada.
Dr. Gonzalez used the opportunity to commend members of the Royal St. Vincent's and the Grenadines Police Force, the Coast Guard, and the prison officers for the work they have been doing thus far.
Officers, and they're doing a good job. I also want to thank the prison officers for stepping up. And there is a solidarity also among the prisoners in everybody working together. That's what has been reported to me. Of course, you will always have one or two betwixt and between who may create difficulties, but let's not dwell on those. We deal with those as they, and I have systems deal with that.
Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Susan Duggan, is appealing to persons who are still in the danger zones to let common sense prevail and get to a safer zone. The Governor General was addressing the nation on the ongoing explosive eruption at La Soufrière.
By now, there is no one left in the danger zone of the volcano, either because of infirmity and inability to access the means to move, or through a conscious decision to stay put and not move. I know that the National Emergency Management Organization has done its best to ensure that all persons in the danger zone were given the opportunity and the means to get out of the danger zone.
Her Excellency said that the country is grateful for the assistance that it has been receiving from neighboring countries amidst their own challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
For we have seen the outpouring of support coming from our Caribbean neighbors and from friendly governments and people around the world as soon as word got out that there was an explosive eruption of the La Soufrière volcano. What we are experiencing is humanity at its best. That is, the innate nature of human beings to show love, kindness, and compassion. We must remain mindful that COVID-19 is still very much with us, and that we must never let our guards down as far as that is concerned.
The Governor General appealed to the evacuees in the shelters to carry themselves with dignity and not to let down their guard when it comes to protecting themselves from COVID-19. Her Excellency said that with this disaster, SVG's economy is expected to be hard hit, which will require everyone to make sacrifices. Chief Executive Officer of the Central Water and Sewage Authority, Garth Saunders, said that at least 70% of the water supply systems have been restored. Speaking on NBC Radio this morning, Saunders said that the situation is getting better and is on a solid road to recovery in terms of restoring all the water supply systems.
The water supply systems are generally back on and currently up to about 70%.
Including Jennings?
No, Jennings is out. Jennings is one of the three systems that are currently being worked on to have them restored. Jennings, as you know, supplies the entire windward coast from Beira to Diamond. Beira in the north to Diamond in the south. The Perseverance system supplies Georgetown proper from Overland to Chester Cottage and Georgetown. And the Hermitage system is on the leeward side, and that supplies from Richmond to Mount Wynn. So that system is critical as well. The problem with Hermitage, both Hermitage and Jennings, they can get back up, but we have to have access. We have to have proper access, and then once we get in, there's a lot of cleaning to do because there's a lot of damage. The trees and along the access roads that have to be cut and moved out of the way so that we can get in.
Some water systems on the leeward side of the island have not yet been restored. However, Sanders said trucks will be delivering water to those areas.
The plan for Barley is to continue trucking water to Barley from Pembroke. It's a two-pronged approach right now to truck water from Pembroke and from Liu into Barley. And also, we have been successful in securing vessels to be able to go into Barley this morning, so we can offload and be able to efficiently truck water in Barley from a shorter delivery point.
The CWSA CEO also noted that several vessels have brought in water and more are on their way to Port Kingston.
Several pledges and several arrangements for bulk water meaning water from ships.
Yes.
As I mentioned yesterday, we got water from the Logos Hope, which is the boat that was in the harbor for a couple of months. They gave us a lot of water before they left.
Yes.
Then some investors in Canawan arranged for a boat to bring up boat bottled and bulk water, and this was coordinated by one Storm Gonzalez. Then we have 28,000 gallons from the Mustique Company, coordinated by Carlos Williams. That is already in the Kingston port. Then we have the government of Venezuela, as you know, PN, donated 50,000 gallons. It's on the vessel in Port Kingston.
That's in their tank on the vessel.
Yes, on the vessel. The problem with that is that the discharge capacity is not as fast as we would like it to be,
Okay.
but we will do our best to get things off.
Okay.
We also had assistance from Dowasco in Dominica, our sister company, cases of water, and they are sending 2 collapsible bladders from Dominica.
They're sending.
A ship from Trinidad and Tobago arrived yesterday afternoon with relief supplies including water along with security, logistic, and medical personnel. According to Colonel Josette McLean of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, she said that more than 1,000 gallons of water and foodstuff made up the emergency aid, which was donated by organizations and private citizens in Trinidad and Tobago.
Most of the supplies are food items, water items, canned food, sanitary supplies, tents. We also brought up 3 water trucks filled with water, medical supplies, PPE, right? Those are the things that were advised to us that is most needed, right? And that's what we try to supply, to be able to support the effort in any way that we can. As CARICOM, we are one, we are brothers and sisters. So, I mean, we are really happy to be here, and of course to assist in any way that we can.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves thanked the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago for their quick response in bringing help to the people of SVG affected by the volcano eruption.
The government and people of Trinidad and Tobago, I want to thank them very, very much for coming to our help. Well, water, food in the shelters. We still need some cots and some mattresses. And in addition to in the shelters, we have the problem where more persons are in homes.
The TNT vessel also brought in 50 members of the Defense Force who are expected to be on the ground here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for at least 2 weeks to provide support to the RSVG police force in the area of security.
We have immigration officers came up with us on this boat actually, and those persons would have applied for exemptions to the Ministry of National Security for permission to be repatriated to Trinidad. So those officers are going to be dealing with that repatriation of persons who were approved.
With over 16,000 persons evacuated from the red and orange zones communities on the North Windward and Leeward areas, shelters have observed approximately 23% of those displaced. Our news team today visited some of the shelters in Kingstown to speak with shelter managers on what the situation has been like.
Over 3,000 Vincentians have now occupied the government-designated shelters in the Green Zone. While there are challenges at some of the shelters in the Kingstown area, there are numerous examples of faith, fortitude, and togetherness being displayed by the Vincentian people. We spoke with several shelter managers who say things are going quite well given the circumstances.
My name is Susan Jackson Williams. I'm the shelter manager for the Kingston Preparatory School. So far, we have had shelterees from Georgetown. We also have persons from Pettibodale and Fitzhughes.
I'm the vice principal for Thomas Saunders, Miss Francis. Here at our shelter, I think basically everything is going really well. We had an early plan. You know, you have to take time and get things. What I can say is that basically we are good. Our evacuees are really doing well, and at the moment we have about 121.
It has been very busy at this shelter because we have over 150 persons. We want to keep families together, and we have discovered that there were family members that were dislocated in another shelter while most of their family members were here, so we have tried to bring them together. Now, you know, we are becoming more familiar with the persons, and people are able to make a little joke here and there, and you know, we sit in the night after dinner and we chat and so on. We learn about each other and talk about just about anything.
While the mental health of evacuees has been strained from time to time with the news of destroyed homes, lost farms, and livestock, they appeared to be in good spirits. At some shelters, there were joking adults, laughing children, and lively elderly persons who could be heard gleefully calling out to our news team. While the distress has caused a range of emotions and sometimes physical deterioration, the atmosphere at the shelters we visited is alive with hope, and shelter managers echoed just that.
There was a lot of, and the panicking could have been seen by the asthma attacks, you know, by blood pressures going up and so on. However, we have tried our very best to calm them as much as possible. We have also tried to detain them from leaving to go back home to check on their houses. In fact, on the day that there was the biggest eruption, there were about 6 gentlemen who wanted to go back home. And I met them on the bridge outside, and I asked them to choose between their lives and their belongings. I think they saw a reason, and they decided that they would not go.
As far as the individuals being displaced at this time, we have a few who are psychologically not well, and they would have expressed, you know, their sentiments about being out of their comfort zone. Yesterday, one of the shelterees got news that her property was destroyed, so she was really distraught. But all in all, they are trying to make the best of the situation.
Each shelter manager also expressed the different needs of the evacuees for persons who may be interested in joining the multitude of Vincentians who have come on board to assist their displaced brothers and sisters. They all echoed sentiments of awe at the love and support they have received from Vincentians at home and in the diaspora, as well as from our Caribbean neighbors.
On a daily basis, we need cups for breakfast. We also would like to have snacks for the children because we have almost 54 children here. We need games for them. And if somebody, you know, in the community has really nice movies, they have, you know, even the people from churches can come to have a little time of fellowship with the people.
Brooms, mops, Sheets, towels, NEMO has provided, but if persons have to donate, we welcome them. Face mask, we can't have too much of that. And anything to sanitize, hand sanitizers, we will welcome that as well.
I remarked to somebody just recently that this disaster has brought back the true Vincentian spirit. I cannot keep count of the number of persons that have come in to donate.
The general public has been very generous to us. If there's a need, they just assist.
Oh, the response has been overwhelming. Almost every day we have persons coming in to bring whatever they can. Sometimes people bring stuff from their personal things that they have at home, water, clothing for the adults and the children, toys, books, food stuff, anything that persons can bring. NEMO has been bringing stuff as well, but we cannot thank the people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines enough for their outpouring of support to the shelteries.
As the explosive eruptions of the La Soufrière volcano continues, no one knows when these displaced Vincentians will be able to return home. But one thing is clear. Amidst all the uncertainty, Vincentians are rallying around their own. Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Shapsha Speedwell Callum.
Antigua and Barbuda Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Malwin Joseph, says all COVID-19 health protocols will be enforced as the country prepares to accommodate 250 displaced Vincentians due to the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano. We hear more in this report by ABS News.
Vincentians coming will have to be in quarantine for the 14 days. And those who have family connection in Antigua and Barbuda will be able to go to stay with their families. If they do not have family connection, they will stay in their accommodation at Jolly Beach.
Minister Joseph speaking with ABS's Ursula Chance Jr. last evening. Now, while physical accommodation will be paramount, the health minister says the assistance will supersede providing just a bed.
I will personally be visiting Jolly Beach and looking at the facility to be sure that not only do they have accommodation for sleeping, but they should have recreational facilities as well. There is a potential for some psychosocial support that these individuals will need.
A number of Trinidadian nationals lined up at the cruise ship terminal today to be processed for return to travel to their homeland following the explosive eruption of the La Soufrière on April 19th. Many reported being stranded here in SVG after Trinidad closed its borders to nationals and visitors last March in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Shortly after the explosive eruption of La Soufrière, a press release was issued from the government of the Trinidad and Tobago, Rowley, announcing the repatriation of Trinidad nationals on the vessel Gallon Passage. The vessel, which docked at Port Kingstown yesterday, was also used to transport some 50 officers from Trinidad Defense Force and the purser of emergency aid supplies. The ship began its journey back to Trinidad from 6 this evening.
I'm Wendy Poe. I came in the 11th of March last year. I just came for 2 weeks vacation and...
You got stuck during the corona?
I was supposed to go back the Wednesday, and the Sunday is when the border closed. Georgetown side there up South Union. This is the first day I ever experienced something like this in my life. Even though I was in the house, I had to keep on my mask right through because the wheezing bothered me too, so it's real terrible. I know everybody's excited to go home.
SVG has recorded 6 new COVID-19 positive cases, which were recorded from 94 samples of processed on April 13, 2021, resulting in a positivity rate of 6.4%. 12 new recoveries were recorded over the reporting period. The number of total recoveries is now 1,607. 125 cases are active and 10 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,811 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is urged to continue to use masks, sanitize, physically distance, and to get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.